My name is Olivia Preston. I'm 30 years old, born and raised in Austin, Texas. In our family of 4, my dad John, my mom Mary, me as the eldest, and my younger sister Sophia, I always felt like I had to try twice as hard to earn praise, while Sophia seemed to receive adoration simply by existing. I vividly recall weekend movie nights in our spacious South Congress living room, where my parents would gush over Sophia's charm and grace, then remind me that big sisters should set an example. Although well-meaning, those words stung, signaling that their affection was always reserved more for Sophia. Even in preschool, I loved reading and consistently earned Student of the Month. Sophia, on the other hand, was the free spirit scribbling chalk art on the blackboard and rarely doing homework. Yet every time my parents attended an assembly, they proudly stood beside my little sister as she accepted the Best Behaved Child Award. I tried not to feel jealous, but my heart ached each time Mary embraced Sophia in front of classmates. As I grew older, I poured my energy into the school basketball team, joined the robotics club, and wrote articles for the student newspaper. Sophia effortlessly transitioned from ballet class to choir rehearsal, basking in my parents' pride without breaking a sweat. I would wonder, am I not charming enough, not talented enough to deserve their equal love? Whenever I won an award, they'd pat me on the shoulder and look away as if my achievement were merely expected. My childhood memories are inseparable from exhaustion, striving, and the constant letdown. I learned to hide my hurt and reminded myself to stay strong. I became the caregiver, the problem solver, and above all, the forgiving sister. But deep inside, I yearn for the day Sophia sees and values my efforts, understands that I'm more than just the big sister who must set an example, but a sister and a friend worthy of unconditional love. I began my career journey at 22 when I joined a small tech startup in the heart of Austin. The early days were brutal 80-hour work weeks, sleeping under my desk to save commute time and surviving on instant ramen to cut costs. Every challenge felt like an opportunity to prove myself, and I thrived on the adrenaline rush of launching new features under tight deadlines. At times, I even sacrificed nights out with friends, convinced that this grind would pay off. Fueled by ambition and grit, I climbed the ranks swiftly. At 26, I was appointed Chief Technology Officer (CTO), tasked with leading a team of over 20 software engineers. Each day, I guided design reviews, defined the product roadmap, and mentored junior developers. 2 years later, our flagship product attracted a major corporation, and the acquisition provided me with a windfall large enough to choose true financial freedom, no more worries about rent or monthly bills. Meanwhile, from afar, I monitored my parents' retail store in Austin, which was buckling under mounting debts and fierce competition. When I received notice that their mortgage was several months past due and foreclosure loomed, my stomach dropped. Without hesitation, I decided to allocate a portion of my newfound wealth to silently rescue my family's home and restore stability. I set up a network of shell companies and a discreet trust I dubbed the Austin Family Fund. Through this arrangement, I covered the mortgage payments on my parents' house, paid their health insurance premiums, auto loans, and cleared overdue credit card balances. To support Sophia's education, I created what appeared to be a merit-based scholarship, ensuring her tuition and living expenses were fully funded without anyone knowing the funds came from me. My intent was to protect my parents' pride and spare Sophia from any shame about needing financial help. Yet I soon realized that these secret interventions reinforced unhealthy dependency and seethed with jealousy behind the scenes. Night after night, I lay awake wondering if my kindness was inadvertently sowing resentment. I feared this hidden web of support could explode into a tempest I would never see coming, threatening the very family I was desperate to save. What appeared to be a close-knit family began to reveal invisible distances between Sophia and me. Whenever we gathered my parents, John and Mary seemed to forget I was right there, eyes fixed adoringly on my sister. I vividly recall my 25th birthday. Mom had ordered a large chocolate cake, but when she lit the candles, she shouted, "Happy birthday to our baby girl, Sophia," even though her birthday was still a month away. The living room fell silent, and I forced a polite smile, feeling my own celebration vanish. At Sunday dinners, every topic revolved around Sophia's latest achievements, her graceful ballet recital, the moving song she performed, or the praises of our sweet little girl. When I shared news of a groundbreaking tech project or an invitation to speak at a tech symposium, Dad would nod politely and then turn back to Sophia with, "And how do you feel about your sister?" as if I existed only as her backdrop. Neighbors and family friends, once effusive about our brilliant Olivia, now showered Sophia with compliments, seemingly forgetting I had ever been the family star. Even when Sophia applied to colleges, my parents fretted, "Do you have the right grades, sweetheart?" A level of concern they had never shown me during my own scholarship applications. I realized that despite silently funding her lifestyle, I had lost my place in the family hierarchy. Beneath the guise of the generous big sister, I craved recognition, not just the role of the self-sacrificing elder sibling. Looking back, I see how each lopsided compliment, every misplaced show of affection drove a wedge between us. I questioned whether I truly belonged in this household. Silence, I discovered, can be more painful than criticism. I learned that distance doesn't merely reside in words, but in the absence of timely, genuine gestures of love. Now I know I must confront these feelings head-on before the growing rift between sisters and within our family becomes irreparable. Ethan and I began planning our wedding 6 months before the big day, choosing the Lamberton, a historic mansion on Riverside Drive, with sweeping views of Austin as our venue. We spent weekend evenings sampling hors d'oeuvres, sipping Texas red wine, and debating floral arrangements. The moment I tried on my wedding dress remains unforgettable. Tears streamed down my face as I saw myself in the intricate hand-embroidered lace gown that Ethan had secretly commissioned from a renowned atelier. Everything felt perfect until the first cracks appeared. I first noticed Sophia's distraction during the cake tasting. When the pastry chef asked her to pick a flavor, she mumbled something vague and swiftly changed the subject. I brushed it off, assuming she was preoccupied with school. Then came the missing deposit check. I had handed Sophia the check to secure our date at the Lamberton, but when I inquired, she swore she'd delivered it. The venue's event coordinator, however, confirmed they never received payment. Panic set in, and Ethan and our wedding planner had to scramble to preserve our reservation. Planning meetings grew exhausting as Sophia insisted on rescheduling appointments at odd hours. She phoned the planner at midnight, complaining about feeling stressed and demanding a different lounge arrangement with softer lighting, please. Each time I asked her why, she offered a strained smile and walked away. Worse still, I caught her sneaking peeks at her medical appointment schedule on her phone, fueling my suspicions that she was hiding something. What unsettled me most was my parents' reaction. John and Mary praised Sophia's thoughtful logistical skills, never once acknowledging the countless hours Ethan and I poured into the arrangements. Family dinner meetings to discuss final details would end with compliments for her, leaving me, the one who'd meticulously organized every detail, feel unmistakably sidelined. Deep down, I realized I was caught between two worlds, one of professional excellence, the other of an invisible distance that felt haunting. Those first signs of a fracture revealed that before our wedding day even arrived, I faced the greatest challenge of all, safeguarding my own happiness and confronting the sister who had always stolen every spotlight. As the unusual signs became more pronounced, I couldn't remain passive. It started one night when I left Sophia's bank account open on my laptop screen. Transactions from an urgent care clinic and a medical supply store totaling nearly $2,000 made my heart race. She should have used our parents' health insurance to save costs, yet every charge coincided with her claims of feeling unusually fatigued. I began monitoring her medical appointment schedule, discreetly checking her confirmation emails and text threads with someone named Jess. I glimpsed messages like "pregnancy report is perfect, hospital documents all look authentic." A shiver ran down my spine. I saved those messages and captured the forged appointment emails sent from a suspicious address. Whenever I interacted with her, I played the casual sister, cheerily asking, "Are you okay?" while watching her reaction closely. Sophia would hesitate, her eyes darting away, then dismiss it as just a routine checkup. But her evasiveness only deepened my suspicion. In a moment of desperation, I retrieved her forgotten journal tucked under her bed. Pages detailed the plan and perfect rehearsal dinner twist, leaving me stunned. I needed proof before confronting her. I enlisted Thomas, my financial advisor, to pull a formal transaction report, cross-referencing Sophia's account activity with legitimate healthcare records. We discovered no official prenatal visits, only a slew of email confirmations from a bogus clinic. I even contacted the real clinic directly. They confirmed they'd never treated any patient named Stephanie Preston. Every investigative step was clandestine, but I reminded myself I was safeguarding both my wedding and our family's reputation. I created a private folder, screenshots of her texts, bank statements, scans of the fake reports. As that dossier took shape, I felt an empowering shift within me. I was no longer just the bride-to-be, but the one holding the true financial reins. When the moment to confront arrived, I would do more than defend my wedding. I would wield the ultimate proof of control. And with this arsenal of evidence, I knew I was ready to claim that power, exposing the lies and securing the spotlight that rightfully belonged to me. I remember the exact moment I uncovered Sophia's entire fake pregnancy scheme. It was a Wednesday afternoon, and I had come home early to find her old diary peeking out from under the living room sofa. My gut told me not to read it, but curiosity won. The first entry I opened began today. I secured the forged prenatal report. My script for the rehearsal dinner is finalized. I'll announce complications just as Dad begins his toast. My heart nearly stopped. I flipped through pages, discovering passages where she detailed exactly how she would fake tears, orchestrate a staged blackout, and even time her dramatic collapse to guarantee maximum attention. But it didn't stop at the diary. Tucked beside it was a large envelope containing a meticulously crafted fake fax from a prestigious Dallas OB/GYN clinic. The logo, official seal, and signature were flawless. Betrayal washed over me. My own sister was plotting to steal the spotlight on what should have been the most important night of my life. I immediately photographed each diary page and scanned the envelope's contents into a secure folder. Every element she'd outlined lay before me, the temporary miscarriage announcement, scripted apology lines like, "I'm so sorry," Liv, and her messages to Jess coordinating the role of a phony doctor. I even found the incriminating text exchange on her phone. "Jess, everything's set. That appointment confirmation from 2 days ago reads patient Emily Stone. Legit enough, Sophia, perfect. No one will suspect a thing." Reading it, I let out a long, painful sigh. Once I regained my composure, I closed the diary and told myself to remain calm. I couldn't expose her immediately. I needed a complete dossier to safeguard my wedding. I called Thomas, my financial advisor, shared the revelations, and asked him to corroborate with bank statements and confirm that no legitimate medical claims existed on Sophia's account. A few hours later, the fake pregnancy plot folder was complete diary scans, text screenshots, forged facts, and Thomas's banking report, showing there were no genuine clinic charges, only phantom transactions. Holding that dossier, I realized I had absolute power. Sophia's scheme was fully exposed, and I was ready for the most dramatic night of our lives to begin. The rehearsal dinner took place at the Lamberton, in a private dining room overlooking Austin's twinkling skyline. About 40 guests, family members, close friends, and a small jazz ensemble gathered around a long walnut table. The atmosphere was cozy yet electric, as everyone sipped champagne and awaited my father John's toast. I tried to savor the moment, the laughter, the light banter, the scent of baby's breath centerpiece, yet my mind kept drifting back to Sophia. She stood confident in an emerald green dress, her eyes sparkling as she brushed back her hair and casually touched Ethan's arm. In my purse, I gripped the dossier of evidence, my fingers tightening on its zipper as my pulse raced. When Dad rose to speak, lifting his glass to praise me, "Olivia has given us our greatest pride," the room fell silent in anticipation. In that instant, Sophia placed a hand on her stomach and feigned discomfort with a soft gasp. "Oh, my heart feels different." A ripple of concern swept through the table. My mother rushed to her side, arms outstretched, while Dad's toast faltered. I sat still, the contents of my folder flashing behind my eyes, the diary entry plotting her complications announcement, the forged Dallas clinic facts, the text reading pregnancy report is perfect. My heart pounded as I rose. The clink of my champagne glass echoed as I held the folder aloft, drawing every gaze toward me. "I believe some clarifications are in order," I said evenly. "My sister is not pregnant." A collective intake of breath followed as I opened the folder, revealing screenshots, scans, and banking records. Sophia's face paled. She had no words. My parents looked stunned, their expressions a mix of betrayal and shock. The once warm dining room descended into chaos, murmurs of disbelief, my mother's choked sobs, bridesmaids gently guiding Sophia away. I stood firm, composed, and resolute, knowing I had just unraveled her entire scheme. That rehearsal dinner became the climactic turning point of our family's story, where every secret was laid bare and nothing would ever be the same again. As the murmurs and tears still reverberated in the dining room, I knew it was time to unveil the full extent of the financial power I wielded. Placing my hand firmly on the edge of the table, I addressed everyone clearly. "Before my sister makes any more announcements, I want you to understand that none of these bills were paid by mysterious scholarships or anonymous grants." I reached into my purse and retrieved the folder labeled Austin Family Fund, spreading its contents across the table. Bank statements detailing the mortgage payments on our Barton Springs home, invoices for my parents' health insurance receipts covering car loans, and Sophia's credit card balances lay before them. I stated plainly, "This isn't some charity fund. It's my money from my personal account." John and Mary's eyes widened as they absorbed each document. I continued over the past few years. I quietly diverted proceeds from my company sales set up shell corporations to mask the source and ensured this family never missed a payment. I ran through the line items, mortgage, Sophia's college tuition, monthly living expenses, and even the so-called emergency fund they believed came from a nonprofit. The room fell into a heavy silence. Sophia trembled, opening her mouth to speak, but finding no words. I held my gaze on my parents. I never wanted to become the family ATM, yet I couldn't stand by while your home faced foreclosure. I believed I was protecting your pride. Turning gently toward Sophia, I placed a hand on her shoulder. "You always thought life was your stage, didn't you? Well, you were merely performing on a platform I built." My heart pounded as I watched them grapple with the revelation. Finally, I declared, "No one here can mistake who truly holds the power in this family anymore." Mary's cheeks flushed. John bowed his head in stunned silence, and Sophia covered her face sobbing. I exhaled deeply, feeling the crushing weight of secrecy lift, yet also knowing this moment marked the beginning of rebuilding our relationships on a foundation of honesty. A crushing weight settled over me as I closed the folder, turning to face my parents and Sophia like strangers. Mary collapsed into her hands, sobs echoing in the hollow room. John sprang to his feet and approached me, his voice cracking with disappointment. "Olivia, you can't do this to your family." Each word carried the sting of betrayal. Sophia trembled, her face ashen and eyes red. She flung herself into my arms, choking out, "I'm sorry, sis. I just wanted to be loved like you were." I let the folder drop, my heart breaking at the sight of my little sister disoriented and terrified under the chandeliers of the Lamberton ballroom. Chaos erupted when Mary rose and pointed an accusing finger. "You hid this truth for years, letting us live in a fantasy. You think you were helping?" I gripped my blouse, voice quivering. "I wanted to protect you both, but I was wrong, not to share everything." John cut me off harshly. "The truth isn't always kind, Olivia. You stole our trust." I took a step back, struggling to articulate my remorse. I thought covering the bills would spare us turmoil, but I never intended it to become a weapon. Sophia's tears gushed. "You've always been the family hero, and I felt worthless." I placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You're not worthless. I've always been proud of you, even with all your imperfections." Mary dabbed her eyes, voice thick with emotion. "We need time to heal." John nodded solemnly. "We must make things right, but it starts with rebuilding trust." Anger gave way to exhaustion, then determination. I sensed the fragile lines drawn between protection and independent, secrecy and transparency. The family meeting ended in a heavy, haunted quiet. I slipped out into the night air on the Lamberton's terrace, drawing in a long, steady breath. The cool breeze carried a faint mist, soothing the raw ache within me. I realized these wounds wouldn't heal overnight, but we'd finally touched the truth, and through this painful conflict, we'd begun the first steps toward rebuilding our family on honesty and mutual respect. After that tense family meeting, I returned to my small Congress Avenue apartment, questioning whether I'd been too harsh. Yet I knew that if I stayed silent, my family would remain dependent on my secret support forever. The next morning, I invited Dad, Mom, and Sophia to a cafe near Westlake, where we'd shared so many warm conversations. I didn't greet them with my usual smile. Instead, I met their eyes with unwavering resolve. "I'm ending all the hidden payments as of tomorrow," I announced. "Mortgage bills, insurance premiums, credit card balances, they all stop. I'll allow exactly 2 more months for a proper transition." My parents froze. Tears welled in Mom's eyes, and Sophia trembled beside her latte. I pressed on. "After 2 months, if you still need assistance, we'll set up a transparent plan, one final lump sum payment for a new mortgage or conditional tuition support. Everything must be documented with clear obligations." Dad looked down at his coffee, then nodded slowly. "You're doing this so we grow stronger?" he asked. I nodded, "Yes. I love this family, but I can't be your financial safety net forever. We have to stand on our own." Mom squeezed my hand, her voice thick. "We understand, sweetheart. We'll do our best." Her words felt like a balm, proof they were ready to change. Next, I drafted a simple family support agreement on my laptop, outlining the one-time lump sum, Sophia's academic conditions, and the 2-month wind-down period for my parents' finances. I suggested we hire